An Apartment Home Rental Guide. Chapter 1. Renting a place. Why rent rather than buying a house? Almost nobody is certain they will have the same job or the same business they have now in 20 years. Anything could happen. When you default on a mortgage, it doesn't matter how much equity you have built up in the house. It's all gone. I say either buy the cheapest house you can or save your money until you've got the cash to fork over either the full price or 80% the cost of the house and pay the loan off quickly. On top of that, the housing market is volatile. You can buy a house now, the price of all houses go down in the next 5 years, so what you owe on the house is more than the house is worth. It's called being underwater. The basic process of moving. You need basic stuff like bath and bed, medicine cabinet / first aid kit, clothing, computer, tech gadgets, school stuff, kitchen stuff, food items, truck or something to move stuff, transportation, car, bus, etc. Personal stuff, entertainment, sports. It's best not to rent a place unseen. You can always spend a few nights at some cheap hotel on the edge of town, buy a newspaper or go to the local college website to the housing or rental section. Drive your car or get it shipped. If it's a cheap car and you're going far, get rid of it, buy another cheap car when you get there. Don't buy much stuff for the apartment like furniture, home decor, etc. Most of it means nothing. Say collegemove.com. Renting an apartment, legal issues. Apartment rental services that charge a fee are generally a waste of money. You should be able to find what you want simply by looking in the newspaper and driving around the area you are interested in looking for vacancy signs. Landlords generally aren't responsible for your property if you're burglarized. Consider buying some kind of renter's insurance. A lease is a contract between the landlord and tenant which conveys to the tenant not the ownership of the property but the right to occupy it for a certain period of time. The term may be month by month where you pay as you go with no long-term commitment, or the landlord may want you to sign a lease for a specific period of time, usually a year, wherein you commit yourself legally to paying monthly payments on the place as long as the landlord keeps it a decent place to live. In general, landlords provide renters with a warranty of habitability, meaning that your house or apartment will be safe and livable within normal, reasonable standards. You, as the tenant, have the right of quiet enjoyment, meaning that the place must be a reasonably stress-free, peaceful place to live. If anything breaks or needs repair, the landlord must do it in a reasonable amount of time, otherwise the terms of the lease are broken and you are free to leave without penalty of debt. Both landlords and tenants have some rights within the rental agreement. Leases are generally biased in favor of the landlord in any rental agreement. If you don't want to be caught off guard, you should take the time to read the lease before you sign it, and if there's something you don't like, you should bring it up with the landlord and try to amend it. For instance, most leases release the landlord from any liability should you be injured on the property. Things to watch out for before you sign the lease are: under what conditions can the lease be broken? What kind of insurance, if any, goes with the rental unit? Does the lease prohibit you from conducting business from your home? What about children? Overnight visitors? How many? Parties? Pets? Do you have the right to cancel the lease? Can you sublet the unit? What about rent increases? What about renewal after the expiration of this one? What about fire protection? What about my desire to decorate and make changes as I see fit? Can someone like a new lover move in with me? What about repairs and maintenance? What about the security deposit? How do I get it back? If the building is sold, will I be evicted? Is there something complicated in the lease that I don't quite understand? If the landlord isn't willing to work with you with your minor quirks up front, then maybe you're better off moving on before you get tied into something you don't really want. Try to resolve any problems with the landlord first. If that doesn't work, go to your local tenancies rights organization and get counsel from them. If you have to go to court, many municipalities across the country have landlord-tenant courts, which are the legal equivalent of small claims courts, such that you can proceed in a relatively informal manner without the necessity of hiring a lawyer. If that doesn't work out, you can always file a claim in small claims court. If the landlord is a slum landlord with dirty units, complain to both your local housing board and health board. If it borders on criminality, go to the state attorney's office and then to the media. Generally, if you break something like a window or the sink gets plugged up, you're responsible for your own repairs, except if it's a machine or appliance that just breaks down. A landlord is responsible for normal care of the premises, and you can sue him in the event that you suffer injury due to something negligent on his part on the property. If there's something such as loose boards on the steps and you get injured, you can sue the landlord if you meet the following conditions. 1. That the landlord had a legal duty to maintain the building or to make repairs and he breached that duty. 2. That your landlord knew or with reasonable care should have known of the condition which caused the injury. 3. That you suffered personal injury or property damage as a result of the landlord's negligence. 4. That the injury or property damage was a reasonable foreseeable result of the landlord's negligence. The tenant doesn't have to prove that the landlord knew about the defect that caused his injury, only that he should have known and done something about it. The landlord has the duty to maintain the common parts of an apartment building like a lobby, elevators, etc. If you sublet your apartment, use common sense. Tell the landlord beforehand and get someone responsible to rent it. The most common complaint in renting is that the landlord decides to keep the security deposit without a justifiable reason. The only way he's allowed to keep it is in the event of damage beyond normal wear and tear and unpaid rent. If this is not the case and the landlord won't return your deposit, you have the right to sue him in small claims court. If the landlord decides to keep your security deposit, he's required to send a letter by certified mail within 30 days explaining the reasons why and the repair bills. Then you can fight him in court if you want to. If you want to fight your landlord on anything, check to see if there's a local tenants organization in your town that can help you out. The Fair Housing section of the Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in either the sale or rental of housing. If you feel you have been discriminated against in the area of housing, you have 180 days to file a complaint with HUD, HUD.gov. They will investigate and try to reconcile the problem. If they can't reconcile it, they will help you with a lawsuit against the perpetrator. Contact Housing Discriminations Hotline. HUD 451 7th St. Southwest, Washington, D.C. 20410-5500, 800-424-8590. HUD.gov. Call if you've been discriminated against while shopping for a place to live. A landlord is not allowed to take possession of your personal property if you haven't paid the rent. A landlord can't shut off your heat or lock you out just because you don't pay rent. The first step in an eviction proceeding is for the landlord to send you a notice to quit, otherwise known as a dispossess action. This is not an eviction notice, rather a notice telling you that he intends to take action. If you want to stay in the residence, you should contact a tenants' rights organization, or an attorney/legal aid service and prepare your case. The next step will be for either him or an agent of the court to serve you with a summons. You can then take it up with him, such as pay the rent if that's the problem, or go to court to argue the case. The landlord has the right to evict you if you fail to pay the rent within the specified time after it's due, if you violate any other agreement in the lease, if your lease contains a cancellation clause that he has invoked, or if state law otherwise allows him to terminate the lease by proper notice. However, many judges are more sympathetic than this and will give you a chance to pay the rent within a specified period of time and otherwise give you some time before you have to move out. A tenant can sometimes nullify the eviction process by showing proof that the landlord has not provided essential services or violated some sections of the housing codes. In such cases, judges typically suspend the hearing and require that the landlord fix the place up before the tenant pays him the rent. If you vacate before the lease is up, the landlord has the right to sue you for the balance unless he has not made an effort to try to rent the place out, or you can prove that he has deprived you of a decent, nice place to live in some manner, like excessive noise, no hot water, etc., roaches, etc. Legally, you're liable for the actual money he loses by you moving out, so if someone moves in a month after you moved out but there was still 6 months on the lease, you legally owe the landlord 1 month's rent. Sometimes tenants in large apartment complexes or in a part of a city choose to organize to protect their interests. Landlord-tenant law/rental law. Rentlaw.com, landlord-tenant law for all 50 states. Apartmentrentalinfo.com. Landlordandtenant.org. Landlordlaw.blogspot.com. Laws.uslandlord.com. Consumer Information Center. Pueblo, Colorado 81009. 888-8 Pueblo. Pueblo.gsa.gov. Free booklet, Wise Rental Practices. American Bar Association. 750 North Lake Shore Drive, Chicago, Illinois 60611. 800-621-6159. Abanit.org. Landlords and Tenants Guide. National Housing Law Project. NHLP.org. Eviction if the landlord defaults on mortgage. You shouldn't be evicted if you're a good tenant. NLIHC.org, the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Home rentals/vacation home rentals. 411-realestate.com. Findrentals.com. Greatrentals.com. realestatematchservice.com. Rent.com. Rent.net. rentalhomesplus.com. rentalhouses.com. rentals.com. rentcanada.com. rentlaw.com. rentnet.com. rentwave.com. Chapter 2. Young people moving out of parents' house. Living with roommates or alone. I lived in a military dorm, then I rented houses with other guys. It's fine for a while, but I eventually realized everybody's a thief, even if just a minor thief of food. People don't respect your stuff, and if you got cash and have more than one roommate with others visiting the house, it's very easy for anyone to steal it, then point the finger at the next guy. People take whatever they feel like from the fridge, be it cold pizza or a case of beer. Naive people reading this probably think I'm cynical and jaded. If you think that, you have not lived in the real world with people. Besides that, everybody is always in your face, wanting to know your business, and your roommates often feel lonely, so they come to you because they want you to waste your time being aimless with them. I would only live with others now if I was desperate for money and needed a cheap place to live. Other than that, there's no way I want roommates, but when you're young, it's a great way to learn about people in general. In some college housing, like for freshmen, they still put 2 people in the same room. I'm not talking same apartment unit, I'm talking room. You can't masturbate in peace. It's a big deal because every young person is horny. Surveys show that half of all college students report tension with their roommates. If you ever share a room with somebody in a college dorm who you're not having sex with, it will be a horrible experience. Having roommates where everybody has their own room is fine. Personally, I think the best arrangement is to have your own apartment. It doesn't matter how small it is. It's all yours to do what you want in peace. Roommates will probably bug you in one way or another. A friend of mine was a serious guy who answered an ad and moved in with 3 slackers. I told him to stay at the library till midnight, then go home, which is what he did to avoid their slacker lifestyle, but it was a sacrifice for him. He couldn't study while relaxed at home because his roommates were there drinking, talking, and being frivolous. It's fun to meet new people, but everyone is a pig when you get up close to them, which is why I recommend personal space. If you have roommates, try real hard to respect their differences from you. Make rules right away, like wash your dishes immediately. Don't take the other person's food. The best way to deal with a roommate is to stay out of their way unless they invite contact. If you get roommates you don't like, they might gang up on you. I was outgoing. My 3 roommates stayed home a lot. I got the feeling they were talking about me in the negative. There are full blowout fights. Often there are little games like person X puts their table in the living room where you want open space so you can do sit ups. Then the mind games go from there. If you smoke, you will most certainly offend others. If you drink alcohol, roommates might think you're pathetic and weak. Some people are offended by nudity. Take your shower, walk to your room wearing a towel. Living with friends almost always leads to problems, especially with paying a fair share of the bills and doing a fair share of cleaning. You're under a microscope. Your roommate knows if you don't shower, can probably hear you masturbate and has probably snuck on your computer looking for porn. Gay roommates are no problem. If you're straight and end up with a gay roommate, most are really cool and will never impose their sexuality onto you. Other people might think you're gay, but so what? Some people are disgusting, loud or slobs. Either stay away as much as possible or move out. Your roommates might bring their friends in who spend a lot of time there, or they might bring someone in to have sexual relations with. There is a point where these people are invading your rights. Speak up to your roommate. Roommates steal and lie about it. If you have 3 roommates and people come in and out of your place, you will never be able to prove theft, so don't keep anything valuable around, especially cash. People steal identities too. A roommate can get your vital information by looking at your IDs and paperwork. Beer was cheap when I went to the University of Florida. Try to avoid roommates who drink and smoke dope every night. People have all kinds of problems. Avoid getting sucked into their lives. I used to be a good listener because I was curious about life, but now I know that there are needy people who want to waste my time by telling me their problems, which is why I'm not so sociable anymore. Try number 378.198 or LB 2343.3 at the library. NakedRoommate.com. MiroOMMATsDriveInGMECrazy.com. frontpage.okState.edu/COE/CP101/roommates.htm, college prep 101, roommates. ehow.com/how_20735050_pick-roommate.html, how to pick a roommate. Rate your college roommates. RateTheRoomie.com, for students in the US. Student housing info. There is limited student housing available on the campus of the college you're attending. There should be some for singles and married couples. It's usually hard to get the housing offered by the college because there's a high demand for it. There are a few fraternities and sororities that provide housing for their members. On U College website, there is usually a housing icon where local landlords and other students put up ads looking to rent places and find roommates. After that, you got the ads in the local newspapers and community websites, including the college newspaper. There are rental websites for everybody, and there are a few national rental websites directed at college students, as I list below. Do an internet search like student housing, your city and state. Finally, there are local property managers, often real estate companies, who own or manage a bunch of properties and rent them out. An easy way to find a place is just to drive around the streets within a half-mile of the campus looking for rent signs. Go to the student union building and look for a bulletin board with ads tacked onto it. If you're gay or belong to some minority, go to their college social club to see if they have some rental options. Whatever you do, don't put off housing until the last minute. Go to college a week or 2 early, stay in a hotel while you look for a place. In the end, saving a few bucks is not worth living in the low-class, high-crime area for. You have to live in a safe area. They sometimes call the area around colleges where lots of students live the student ghetto. These are relatively safe areas to live, but don't rent a place on the poor side of town where there aren't many college students. You'll stick out. People will think you're an easy mark for rape and or robbery. Everybody thinks college students have at least a computer and some money. If you're a girl, safety should be your major concern. Don't live on the ground floor of an apartment building. Search collegehousing.com, off-campus housing options for students, faculty, and staff. Accommodationforstudents.com, England. azstudenthousing.com, Arizona. gooffcampus.com. housing4students.com. housingboard.ca, Canadian Student Housing Board. housingnet.co.uk, England. OFFCAMPUSHOUSING101.com. studenthomesearch.com. studenthousing.com. studenthousing.com.au, Australia. studenthousing.net, London, ON, Canada. studenthousing.org. studenthousing.solutions.com. yours4rent.com. College accommodations/college housing. Some colleges offer year-round accommodations for visitors for a few days, but most only offer them during the summer months. If you're in any town with colleges, look up the housing office in the phone book, call and ask if they have overnight accommodations for several nights. I noticed that a lot of British colleges offer this service. campus-lodging.com. 800-525-6633. Book. Campus Travel Service. POB 8355. Newport Beach, California 92660. 714-497-3044. 800-525-6633. campustravel.co.uk. They sell a book which lists 700 colleges and universities that offer inexpensive overnight lodging. Chapter 3. Rental websites. Tenant organizations. tenantsunion.org. Resources for renters. Nashville, North Carolina. nchfa.com. shelterforce.org. housingrights.ca. Rental websites. Rent apartments and houses or find a roommate to share a place with. apartmentdistrict.com. Compare holiday apartment prices in 32 destinations across Europe. fusedworld.com, Fused World. planetpads.com, PlanetPads. Vivian.com, Vivian. Apartments.com. Rent.com. rent-index.com. springstreet.com/apartments, database of apartments for rent in the US and Canada. Agreements etc.com, online rental agreement. american-apartment-owners-association.org. tenant.net. apptradings.com. easyroommate.com. freerentalfinder.com. apartmentrentalinfo.com. apartment-listings.com. 247apartments.com. 411-realestate.com. allapartments.com. apartmentcities.com. apartmentfinder.com. apartmentguide.com. apartmentime.com. apartmenttradings.com. apartment-rental.net. apartmentreviews.net. apartments.com. apartmentsearch.com. aptfinder.org. aptguides.com. aptline.com. aptrentals.com. aptsforrent.com. biz-stay.com, short-term apartment rentals. bridgestreet.com, 800-278-7338. bizeltrading.com. chtapartments.com. cityleases.com. classifieds2000.com. craigslist.com. cyberrentals.com. deltime.com. e-apartments.us. fairhousinglaw.org. flatster.net. forent.com. forrent2.com. Apartments for rent.bz. Rent.com. Rent.net. Rent.net/renthome.html. Rentcanada.com. Rentlaw.com. Rentnet.com. Rentometer.com. Roommates.com. ROOMMATES4YOU.com. ROOM-ROOMMATE.com. Roomster.net. Servicesroommate.com. Renters insurance websites. Most places that sell home insurance sell renters insurance. Renters insurance usually covers these things. 1. Personal property in the unit. 2. Liability in case someone gets injured on your property and sues you. 3. Medical payments coverage if someone gets injured on the property. 4. Catastrophic coverage if something happens, the building is unlivable and you need a new place to live. best-free-insurance.com/renters-insurance.html. 2insurance4less.com. rentersinsuranceHQ.com. British Rental. flatmateclick.co.uk. movem.co.uk. ratemyroof.co.uk. Canadian rental websites. toronto.ontariotenants.ca. ontariotenants.ca. buyerent-homes-canada.com. places2rent.ca. landlordlaw.ca. bcapartmentbuildings.com. canadianhomes4rent.com. cmhc.gc.ca/en/bureau/rayo/index.cfm, your guide to renting a home. easyrent.ca. viewit.ca. Provincial rental offices. Alberta rental/tenancy laws. Alberta Government Services. Edmonton. 780-427-4088. 877-427-4088. gov.ab.ca/gs/information/landlord. servicealberta.gov.ab.ca. landlordandtenant.org. British Columbia rental/tenancy laws. Residential Tenancies Office, Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor General. rto.gov.bc.ca. Greater Vancouver Area. 604-660-3456. Rest of the Province. 800-665-8779. Manitoba rental/tenancy laws. Government of Manitoba. gov.mb.ca/splash.html. Residential Tenancies Branch. gov.mb.ca/finance/cca/rtb/gbook/toc.html. Manitoba Residential Tenancies Branch. 302-254 Edmonton Street. Winnipeg, Manitoba R3C3Y4. 204-945-2476. 800-782-8403. residentialtenancies.mb.ca. Nunavut rental/tenancy laws. gov.nu.ca. 877-279-2331. 867-975-7291. New Brunswick rental/tenancy laws. gnb.ca. gnb.ca/ax/r-10-2.htm. gnb.ca/0062. Fredericton. 506-453-2557. St. John. 506-658-2512. Moncton. 506-856-2330. Bathurst. 506-547-2162. Campbellton. 506-789-2362. Edmundston. 506-735-2096. Newfoundland and Labrador rental/tenancy laws. governmentnl.ca, gov.nf.ca/cca/tp/residential tenancies. 877-829-2608. 709-729-2608, 2610 and 5829. St. John's. 709-256-1019, Gander and area. 709-637-2445, Corner Brook and area. Apartmentsnl.com. stjohnsapartments.com. Northwest Territories rental/tenancy laws. justice.gov.nt.ca/rentaloffice/rentalofficer.htm. 800-661-0760. 867-920-8047. Nova Scotia rental/tenancy laws. 800-670-4357. 902-424-5200. gov.ns.ca/snsmr/consumer/restn. gov.ns.ca/legci/stah-tv04-146/H05822/resident.htm. Prince Edward Island. Office of the Director of Residential Rental Property. 800-501-6268. Fax, 902-566-4076. irac.pe.ca/rental. Quebec. rdl.gov.qc.ca. Association of Housing Committees and Tenants Associations. 800-683-2245. rclalq.qc.ca. Quebec City. 418-643-2245. Montreal. 514-873-2245. Ontario rental/tenancy laws. ltb.gov.on.ca. Ontario Rental Housing Tribunal. 888-332-3234. orht.gov.on.ca/scripts/index_.asp. Saskatchewan. justice.gov.sk.ca/office of reside ntial tenancies. justice.gov.sk.ca/prov mediation/rentals. man/default.shtml. Office of the Rent-Alsman/Provincial Mediation Board. 888-215-2222. 306-787-2699, Regina. 306-933-5680, Saskatoon. Yukon rental/tenancy laws. community.gov.yk.ca/consumer/landtact.html